Hey, this is Mongo Slade. All content here is covered under fair use. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit a like if you like what you hear. And share it if you dare. So Mustafa Ali is the internet's new favorite guy. But I have yet to see anybody who can mention 3 really great and unique things about him. So this video is about the state of Mustafa Ali, especially since he returned from his very, very long sabbatical, which was about 7 months. So for now, there's not that much to really talk about, to be quite honest. Mustafa Ali came out of absolute nowhere. I don't remember ever seeing him in NXT. He pops up on 205 Live. He starts really kind of, he has a little bit of flash to him. He was a little skinny at the time. He gained some weight since then. But the guy was a pretty decent high flyer. He showed up. He was really good. And then, he had the breakout match with Cedric Alexander, the series of breakout matches with Cedric Alexander and Murphy, and they did great. Then he moved to SmackDown. He was introduced with some flair. He beat Daniel Bryan, his first entrance onto SmackDown. He was pegged to be a really big star. He also looked like he was going to get a top spot in at WrestleMania. That he maybe was going to be Daniel Bryan versus Mustafa Ali at WrestleMania, but Mustafa Ali got injured. Then, well, I guess before this, I think was the Money in the Bank. Well, the Money in the Bank thing was after this. So he got injured. He had to miss the pay-per-view. Then he had some, and then he had to miss, what was that pay-per-view? The pay-per-view Roadblock, I think it was, or something like that. It was Fastlane, I think it might have been, and they pretty much gave his spot to Kofi Kingston. Kofi Mania took off, and Kofi went from just being a guy who was just filling in for Mustafa Ali to it just being his spot. And Mustafa just kind of was like, yeah, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. It couldn't happen to Kofi's such a nice guy. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. So he essentially got bumped. And then Money in the Bank happens. Money in the Bank, he was like he's going to win Money in the Bank, and then of course they gave it to Brock Lesnar. As they allowed Mustafa Ali to tickle the briefcase a little bit, just to tickle the briefcase a little bit. Then Brock came down and ended the whole thing and shoved him off and took the briefcase, and everybody was mad. So then after that, Mustafa Ali just kind of flapped in the wind like a flag. He just kind of, and just nothing was going on with the guy. He entered a feud with Randy Orton where he blamed Randy Orton for his injury. And, Randy Orton had taken his opportunity, which was a good storyline. It just ended with him catching an RKO. So it didn't really go much of anywhere, but he ended up eating that RKO pretty good. I think this was about 2009 already, because he spent 2016 mostly in 205, and 2016, 2017, he was on 205 Live, really just doing the groundwork, really doing a lot of good stuff. I mean, I'm not dogging the guy. The guy's good. He got a good size to him, but he is small. He's a cruiserweight, but he's got a decent size to him. He's a really, really, really nice guy. But he's not the most cut guy in the world. He's a good talker, but he's not the best talker in the world. But let's get back to the story. After the feud with Randy Orton, they really didn't have anything for him. It was just, he was just sort of there. He's just sort of doing something sometimes and not doing something other times. And then he started doing a lot of jobs. And then he started doing these promos. These sort of superhero-like promos where he would say that, I guess it was based off him being a police officer, where he would do all of the, stop crime, or he was going to be sort of the defender of the WWE. And it was actually a good idea. He was wearing his little hoodie, and he would stay in the cut, and he'd see something happen, and he would step in and, be the light. He was going to be like a superhero. And I thought that was a good idea. Of course, nothing came of it because it's WWE. Nothing came of it. And then it seemed like he was going to be they was going to tag the light promos to the hacker storyline, where the truth will come to light, which was sort of the next phase. And it looked like he was going to be the hacker that was doing the GTV segments, exposing the different heels who were doing dastardly things to people. And then he disappeared from TV for 7 months. And that storyline just did not finish. He just vanished for months and months and months. And Lord knows he said he wasn't injured. So he just was not there. He just wasn't there. Then he popped up back up. Oh shit. 2020. I forget which. I think it was in mid July or something like that. He pops up on Raw. He was traded to Raw, and he's teamed up with Cedric Alexander and Ricochet, which was a good thing. He won his first match when he got back, and then he's done nothing but lose ever since. He was losing on main event. He lost on Raw to Lashley. He's lost to, or the only person he's really lost to was Lashley. Well, he lost to Riddick Moss on main event. And a lot of people have just really been just watching this guy lose. And they're so hurt because they wanted this guy to be special. And, I'm still waiting on people to name 3 really good things about Mustafa Ali where he absolutely has to get pushed. I have not seen it. Like I said, I'm not down on the guy. I want him to succeed. I want Mustafa Ali to win because I think that he's an insanely patient dude, especially with assholes on Twitter. But he also uses his platform in a way to be sort of political. And he was one of the guys that got Jackson Riker's push killed, along with, probably the New Day and, probably Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and all those guys, all the really radical leftist dudes on Twitter. Wrestlers let's limit that to wrestlers. I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys kind of pulled some strings and got his push killed. Because the Forgotten Sons got pretty much dropped from TV after Jackson Riker said, "Hey, I support the president," and that was pretty much the dead end for not Mustafa Ali, for Jackson Riker, but it ended up being sort of the end for Mustafa Ali too, because he wasn't even on TV at the time, and I think a lot of people thought he was injured, but he wasn't. So since he's been back, he's made some sort of snide comments about how he wants more out of the company, and he's frustrated, and that somebody needs to buy his T-shirt so he won't be off TV for 7 months again. But look, man, I like Mustafa Ali. I enjoy his work. I enjoy his matches, especially his 205 Live stuff. I enjoyed the matches he had with Cedric Alexander. I really think that he's a good talent. But when you stack him up against all the other people who are on the roster, you have to ask I would say this. Of his little clique that he hangs out with on TV, Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, he has the best mic skills. But he's not better in ring than Ricochet or Cedric Alexander. I think Cedric probably has the best psychology out of all 3 of them. Ricochet is probably the most marketable of the 3 because he has so much time from the independents. Mustafa Ali has the best story, especially with him being a former police officer. If they wanted to just play that, they could, and him being a Muslim. So they have a good story with him, and they have played off of his story a little bit, like the whole Adil Alam thing where he first started being in wrestling. He used to play the stereotypical evil Muslim, and his story has been he wanted to overcome that. He didn't want to play that character anymore, and maybe that's what's limiting him. It's not refusing to play the stereotype, but refusing to have a harder edge to the character, having some intensity. Because that's usually what holds guys down. But they gave him a pretty good push. I mean, when Daniel Bryan was the WWE champion, Mustafa Ali pinned him. And it looked like he was going to be the guy. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, what happened? Like I know he got injured when he was feuding with Daniel Bryan, he got injured. And then they brought him back and they kind of mixed him back in with Brock Lesnar, and it's at the Money in the Bank, he's like he was going to win Money in the Bank in 2019. And then it didn't work. It didn't happen. Then they feuded him with Randy Orton. So he had some momentum, and then nothing. Just nothing. I was just kind of sitting there like, damn. Now he's kind of feuding with Lashley and the Hurt Business. So he's not completely like off TV anymore. He's back on TV, but he's not a featured guy. and it would be nice for him to be featured. Like I like the dude. I'm having a hard time denigrating him, but I just want somebody to be able to tell me. And this is like my routine question now. For starters, if I had to say something negative about him, I would say he doesn't pass the Randy Orton test as far as he's not a tall guy. He's not a particularly intense looking guy. He is, but he's a decent talker. He's cut some pretty good promos lately. He's not bad. He's just not as good as other people who are around him. And I think that's part of the problem. That's what makes you a pretty solid mid-carder, is when you're not the drizzling shits, but you're not somebody, a birdie busting out of the egg. You're not just becoming like the superstar either. And yes, you can say, well, he hasn't been given those opportunities, but when you got a guy, it took Apollo Crews years, man. Like Mustafa Ali has only been on the main roster for 2 years. Okay, 2 years. That's it. That's all he have. That's when people be acting crazy, flipping out, and he's been ruined. Like, he's only been on the roster 2 years. Okay, give it a break. The guy was involved with Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar, and Randy Orton in 2019 alone. And now he's involved with Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin. And these are 3 guys who are on Raw multiple times per night. So he's not exactly swept under the rug. He's not, but again, like, what 3 things make him so popular and so important that we have to push him? Especially when you look at all of the other guys who are not getting pushed. Just within the clique that he hangs out with. You could push Ricochet. You could push Cedric Alexander. There's people who are saying, well, Aleister Black should get pushed. Then there's other people who are like, we want to see more Andrade or more Angel Garza. The Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. And maybe moving him from Raw was the problem. Because you could have had Mustafa Ali versus AJ Styles. And, Mustafa Ali, and that could have been great. But I don't know. He's just one of those big, I don't know guys. Like, I don't know what could we have done? How do we make this guy seem like a bigger deal? And I feel like he has a story. He can tell the story. He has some good ideas. Maybe we need to just let him build it. But I just don't see him standing in the ring with a guy like McIntyre or a guy like Lashley and coming across as being a dude who can beat them in a fight. I just don't see that right now. And maybe that's his intensity level is not where it should be, but I just don't see it. So if you see what the big deal is about Mustafa Ali, please let me know in the comment section below. Again, I'm not denigrating Mustafa Ali. I like him. If Mustafa Ali was going to wrestle Drew McIntyre for the title at SummerSlam, I would not be upset about that. But it's not happening, and I'm also not upset about that. And that's just sort of the surefire way of you're a mid-carder. Like, he could be having pretty good matches with Dolph Ziggler or something, but how many times do people really want to see that other than once or twice? I don't know. But the internet loves the guy. I like him. I just think that he's one of the internet's guys, and there isn't 3 major things about him other side of his light up suit, which it took me almost 15 minutes to remember that about the light up suit. But that's about it, man. What do you guys got? Let me know what's going on with Mustafa Ali, whether you enjoy his work or not. And if so, let me know in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.